Hello, everyone. Welcome to our HIV is not a crime community conversations. We're going to have this available in Spanish and give thanks to our interpreter tonight, Jose Romero. And I believe folks that need the interpretation can't, oh, sorry. So sorry, there's stuff going on. Okay. Folks who need the interpretation can follow the instructions on the side to just select the globe and select your language. And if you're on your smartphone, there's 3 little dots, should be in the bottom right-hand corner. And the options for language will come up and then you'll select what you need. So giving a moment for that. Okay. Oops. Okay. So this evening, just keeping in mind that you can utilize the chat box.
Así que nomás.
And put any questions you have in the chat. Also, that this webinar is being recorded. So for those that aren't able to join, and be sure that if you don't want to be a part of that recording, to keep your camera off. And you also have the option to change your name. So you would just click on your photo, I believe. And I can't do it from the screen I'm in to be sure I'm telling you the right instructions, but you click on your name and there should be some dots that you select and the option to rename should appear, and you can type in a descriptor like a color or just she or he or they, so that your name doesn't show in the recording as well. Also keep in mind if you are presenting on your state update, since we do have language interpretation, to speak slowly and clearly and give time for our interpreters to translate. So our agenda is we'll do our welcome and an introductions. And then our mentorship opportunity tonight, we'll be discussing HIV is not a crime awareness day. And then we'll go into our state updates. Remember that usually we try to send the slide deck out ahead of time. So if you didn't get the link to that today and you have state updates, when we get to your state, just let us know. And sometimes there are no updates, but you're on the call anyway, and we appreciate that. Folks can either use the chat or come off mute for introductions with your name, your pronouns, what state you're in, and what is your advocacy goal in 2022. For me, I'll model and I'll popcorn, but no one feel pressure to introduce off mute if you don't want to. But I'm Kamaria. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from Florida. And my advocacy goal for this year is to really empower more advocates to take ownership of their own individual advocacy and find their niche. I always say that word wrong. Their priority issue that they want to amplify. And I'll popcorn to Tammy.
All right, thank you. Tammy Haught, she, they pronouns. I am from Iowa, and my advocacy goal for 2022 is not to kill any legislator throughout the legislative session. Oops, I forgot this is being recorded. So I will say I'm determined to reach out to both my state and federal senators, even though they are difficult to communicate with. I am determined to continue to bother them until hopefully they vote correctly. And I will pass to Tana.
Hi everyone, I'm Tana, she, her, hers, state in Texas. What is my advocacy goal in 2022? All of the bad voting bill, voter suppression bill that's out, trying to get my people to the polls, but also getting them educated on, how to fill out mail-in ballots and all of those kind of things. It's rough here in Texas, but I'm up for the challenge. I'm excited and have my allies join in this fight. And I will popcorn it to Jose.
I'm not sure if Jose can, since he's one of the interpreters tonight.
Okay, Michelle.
Hello, Michelle Troxel from Pennsylvania, and my pronouns are she and her. And what am I? My advocacy goal for 2022 is to continue with the work that we have been working on, and specifically to ask better questions and I stay focused. And sorry, I can't see who else is on. I will popcorn over to Demario. Did you go?
No, I haven't. Hello, everyone. My name is Demario from Kansas City, Missouri. So my pronouns are he, him, and his. My advocacy goal for 2022 is to continue to do the work we've been doing, but also to educate our legal stakeholders since our bill have been reformed. So I'll pass it over to Kevin.
Hi, everybody. Kevin Lish. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm in Idaho, and my advocacy goal is to recruit more people living with HIV to our Idaho Modernization Coalition. And then again, before engaging with the allies and the partners in our coalition, to make sure the people living with HIV at the table are fully trained and ready for the challenges that the full table of allies and brings with it. And I will popcorn to Chauncey.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chauncey McGlathery. I am in Huntsville, Alabama. My pronouns are he and him. My advocacy goal, in a nutshell, is equipping other advocates and other interested parties in how to use their stories to influence legislation, the legislative process. And I'm not sure who I should popcorn to.
There are a few folks, I think, Cindy, Eric, and Michelle. Oh,
Michelle.
Okay.
No, Michelle went.
My apologies. I thought you did, but
It's okay.
I definitely need to sleep. So that leaves Eric and Cindy.
Maybe Eric?
Sure. Hi, I'm Eric Fleiter. My pronouns are he, him. I live in Indiana, and my my advocacy goal for 2022 is to become more active with the HIV modernization movement here in Indiana. And I will pass it to Cedric.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Cedric Pulliam, he, him pronouns. Currently back in my home state in Virginia. And the advocacy goal for 2022, I would say really is surrounding education throughout the state based off of our success last year in modernizing our HIV criminalization law, but then also monitoring the landscape since we had a very distinct shift in our political landscape in Virginia. And I think Cindy was the last person.
Thank you, Cindy. She, her, hers. I'm from Pennsylvania. And what is my advocacy goal for 2022? I believe my goal is to turn it up and running with the 3rd edition. So to give advocacy and a voice and tools to those that are inside and to lift them. And I turn it back to Kumaria.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, everyone. Your goals sound amazing, and I look forward to seeing them come to light for 2022. So thank you all for sharing. So tonight's mentorship opportunity is discussion around the inaugural HIV is Not a Crime Awareness Day. Sorry, I see there's something in the chat, so I'm just acknowledging. So we'll be talking about the meaning of the day, how folks can utilize it, and I already said the meaning of the day. So first, I just want to thank folks that have supported the planning and the coming together of this Awareness Day. It's been a discussion at SARO for a while. And then we approached the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, and I'll get to that collaboration in a moment. But partners that made this, the informational webinar that we hosted on Monday, possible by their commitment to ending the laws that criminalize people living with HIV, are inclusive of the HIV is Not a Crime Training Academy partner organizations, which are Sarah Project, the Positive Women's Network, Positively Trans, Thrive SS, and the US People Living with HIV Caucus. Also inclusive of the Health Not Prisons Collective, which is, again, the Sarah Project, PWN, Positively Trans, the US People Living with HIV Caucus, and Counter Narrative Project. And then also we had participation on the webinar from one of our Sarah Project Justice Institute members. And then the partnership with the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation comes from the selection of the date as one of the reasons, not the main reason, but one of the reasons. Elizabeth Taylor's birthday will be February 27th. And in acknowledgement of her legacy of commitment to supporting organizations that are working in criminalization reform, we wanted to utilize her day as a way to celebrate her and the fruit of her legacy, if you will. So the 27th is on a Sunday. So it just made sense to push the actual Awareness Day to the Monday, especially for the inaugural year. And that ties into wrapping up National Black History Month, which is often joked the shortest month of the year because Black people are always getting shortchanged. But Black history is 365. So the month doesn't have to contain all things of Black excellence, but this Awareness Day helps tie a bow to the end of that month in also acknowledging that HIV criminalization impacts Black communities disproportionately. And it also brings a bookend to National Black HIV AIDS Awareness Day, which is on February 7th. We didn't want this Awareness Day to overshadow the specific HIV issues in the Black community. And then it also links and intersects into Women's History Month in March. So that those are kind of like the reasons for the date and its selection and the significance behind that. Wanting folks to take action and be a part of the inaugural part of the Awareness Day, knowing that a month, 28 days, 27 days really is not enough time for people to put an event or a large scale campaign together, but there is opportunity for folks to name themselves and their organizations as part of the committed movement. So there is a sign-on letter that I think someone just dropped in the chat. Where our goal is to have 100+ organizations sign on by February 28th, and 100+ individuals also signing on. As of day one, yes, after the informational webinar, there were 30 people so far that signed on. So knowing that there's momentum in gathering people's commitment to ending HIV criminalization laws is really powerful. And I really feel that the momentum for me, when I look at the work that everyone's doing, comes in 3 parts. One, I've been amazed, inspired, and really humbled by folks that did not let the pandemic stop them. They didn't let a violent previous White House administration stop them. Folks in Virginia, Missouri, Nevada, blanking, but other states that were able to pass, Illinois, that were able to pass reform measures and repeal their laws in the midst of a global collective grieving, but still stand firm and 10 toes down and say HIV is not a crime, and we're not going to stop saying it until these laws are gone. That momentum in the midst of a pandemic, I find to be very powerful. And then for World AIDS Day to have our President Joe Biden acknowledge criminalization laws and how outdated and antiquated and unjust they are on a global recognition day of people we've lost to HIV and AIDS was also powerful. And then to come into 2022 and knowing those two things and working with all of you and hearing folks' reactions from HIV is not a crime, Training Academy going virtual, and just not wanting to give up. This Awareness Day just felt right. And then there's also a couple of other significant pieces. It is Sarah's 10th anniversary, so happy birthday, Sarah. And also February 27th would be Elizabeth Taylor's 90th birthday. So there's all these milestones that are happening. And I feel like even though the window to do something on a large scale for this Awareness Day might feel like a huge lift, kicking off this Awareness Day, so 2023 can be the moments of recognition and celebration of the advocates and allies in this work. It just seemed perfect for this. So if you want to share the sign-on letter and the logo for HIV is not a crime awareness day and change it to your profile picture, Facebook has changed some of their guidelines on putting frames or creating your own frame if you're not a health-focused agency. So folks are having to just utilize the logo as their, like, just upload it as a regular picture. So we can make that available to people. Also feel free to go to my Facebook and just take it. It's for the community. It doesn't belong to any one person. Also, when you're sharing anything about the Awareness Day, whether it's the sign-on letter, the logo, or some other materials that will be coming out this month, please tag Sarah and the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, and also use the hashtags HINAC Day or hashtag HIV is not a crime. The other materials that will potentially be coming out are, there are some images, some graphics that have been created that are basically like, did you know type of facts on criminalization based off of a fact sheet that Sarah created back in 2016, I believe. It's been a little updated and tweaked, but it's just different facts about why these laws are bad. Another focus of this awareness day is keyword awareness. We're wanting to expand these conversations around criminalization reform beyond the choir. I think Malcolm Reed from Thrive SS said it best on Monday's webinar, that we have to stop talking to one another. Like, we are the ones that are strategizing and putting our minds together of how to change the laws. But when it comes to the education, we really have to tap into, like Cedric said, just really expanding that throughout your entire state. I know that's another advocacy goal of mine in Florida specifically, and I'll talk about that in my state update. But wanting to bring in the folks that think they know about HIV and that it's not a big deal anymore. We want to talk to those people and let them know, like, yes, we've made these advances, but guess what? There's these really old ass laws that don't line up with those advances, and people are losing their lives, literally and systemically, behind these laws. And I don't have to tell you all that, you're aware because you're here. But this awareness day is to go beyond us. It's to go into the places that you frequent and have conversations with folks that are not a part of this circle, that maybe have a glimpse of what you do in your advocacy, but they may not fully understand what it looks like. I know that's going to be a challenge, I'm challenging myself to start digging deeper into my non-HIV personal relationships and telling folks about this day. So we're creating an advocacy social media toolkit, as well as the facts about HIV, for folks to be armed and equipped with language in those different spaces. So the toolkit, I don't have a sample slide to show you all now, but the toolkit will be broken into different parts, with messaging for legislators, messaging for public health folks, messaging for peers, other people living with HIV that maybe think the laws are fine the way they are, and some other categories. And it'll also include templates of like how to do a proclamation or a resolution in your city or state, with your legislator, declaring, in your town that this day is HIV Not a Crime Awareness Day. Yeah, so I will stop there. Oh, sorry, I will not. I will have one more thing. There's also a link. I'm not sure who's sharing the links, but it's in the speaker notes, for event sign up forms. If you happen to have the capacity, the heart, and the bandwidth to put an awareness event together, like whether it's like with your support group, your local Ryan White planning body, your friends and family, like just having like a couch chat or something, and you want to invite people into that space, or you just want Sarah to know you're having the event, there's a link for you to submit your event and provide us with those details. Also, if you're going to share it on social media, please, please, please tag us, tag the Sarah Project, and amplify the work that you're doing to help have the conversation and declare that HIV is not a crime. So now I will stop and take questions if there are any, or reactions, comments.
Well, I just signed on to the letter.
Thank you, Tana. Awesome. I try not to check how many people have signed up every day. I'm making myself at least do it once a week so I can see it. One thing I'm not doing is I'm not checking names. I just want it shared as much as possible. So when you sign up, I forgot to put a share button on the form itself, but you have access to the link. So please feel free. I think Eric, yes.
Oh, I was just going to follow that up. If you sign on as an organization, also be sure to sign on as an individual.
Yes. Yes, please. And thank you. Thank you for that, Eric. And then I'll on the February 28th kickoff date, there will be a webinar. I didn't say that, I apologize. There's a webinar being planned, and I want to be able to announce that like 2,000 organizations signed on and 4,000 individuals are all coming together to say HIV is not a crime. And I promise there's nothing else attached to that statement of you signing on to this. I mean, I may reach out to you later to ask if you want to be a part of anything, but it's really just, we're just going to list your organization in a more formal announcement of these folks signed on the inaugural year of the Awareness Day. And then there's two other pieces that are in development. Well, one I've mentioned, but the webinar for February 28th, wanting to create a celebratory energy. So still brainstorming, but want to hear from folks on what the community finds useful in an awareness day, and what about this one stands out from the others. Not declaring one's better than the other, but what about a criminalization policy-driven awareness day stands out from our other awareness days that we have. And also for 2023, wanting to, how do I say, put together an awareness day planning committee. So that would sort of be built this year, and then that committee would help put together an informational issue-focused webinar for February 28th of next year. But leading up to that would be like the point people that community members could potentially come to for ideas and offer recommendations to what awareness days can look like, especially based on whatever trends are happening politically on a national level as well as local. I think I saw Tana's hand was up.
Maria, I was thinking that, you know, so many states last year reformed or modernized their laws. I think it would be good to have a spotlight for those states.
Of course, absolutely.
Because that is great. That's some great work and commitment.
And also, whenever I try to, when I'm doing presentations, when I'm spotlighting, you know, this many states change their laws, I also like to highlight the folks that may not have changed laws, but they're keeping laws off the books. And Texas is definitely one of those forces of nature that's very diligent about doing that. So definitely highlighting advocates in that way too. I know that we will have a guest from the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation will be a part of that February 28th kickoff. And then there's a couple of folks that can speak to the history of Sarah's involvement. I'm just waiting for confirmation of them wanting to be, well, if they're available that day and what they want to talk about. And then there's potential of, like, of course, acknowledging the facts about criminalization and provide some maybe updated resources and new information to advocates. So there's a couple of folks who've reached out for that as well. So it's really just a matter of a run of show being put together, a time being selected, and getting your registration and all that put together. But thank you for that, Tana. And we'll also incorporate something that It's been a long work, like, how do I say? I'm so sorry. I'm so tired. There's also an opportunity for our Sarah Project Justice Institute members to be highlighted in that space because they will be releasing the Sarah Project Justice Toolkit, which is built off of the modules and sessions and workshops that they have been a part of for the past year. And y'all, there's some really powerful resources that will be in that toolkit. Things that when I started in this HIV policy field could have really used, like reading bill language is not my jam. I won't even say my actual physical reaction when someone puts a bill in front of me. But it's just not my thing. Like I can read it and understand it, but as far as like breaking it down to change it and put amendments and anyway, there will be a portion of the toolkit that walks through bill language. And I don't want to give away too much information about the toolkit, but it's a beautiful document that our comms director, Eric, has beautifully designed. Our Sarah Project Justice Institute members have worked tirelessly to put different pieces of information that does not currently exist. So this is a fresh document that will be highlighted also during the Awareness Day webinar. So tons of resources are coming your way to continue to support the continued efforts in your state. Are there any other questions or comments or suggestions? Okay, I'm gonna, because I can't see anyone, so I'm gonna take that as a no. And we'll move forward to our state updates. Starting with Alabama. Is there anyone on the line from Alabama? On the line, wow. Is there anyone on Zoom from Alabama? And if not, I know that this is HIV Awareness Week for Alabama, and there's some trainings that AIDS Alabama is putting together for folks to learn how to talk to legislators and learn about the Alabama legislature process. I think we need to get that particular, I need to forward the email that's announcing that out to this listserv so folks can be tapped into that. Alaska, Arizona. And if I go too fast past your state, please raise your hand or notify me in the chat. Arkansas. California. Colorado. Connecticut. Delaware. Florida. So Florida. Our legislative and lobbying updates. We have an HIV modernization bill. We had to re-identify a new bill sponsor. So we have Representative Felicia Robinson and Senator Jason Pizzo helping us out. The House and Senate both got reference, the bills got reference to 3 committees. I'm not sure about everyone else, but in Florida, if it's 3 committees or less, then that's a good thing. If it's 3 committees or more, then that means you're going to run into some problems. But our House version is also coming before the Justice Appropriations Subcommittee, and that makes me a little nervous. Our leadership in the House is basically stonewalled progressive movement. Because we're recording, I'm not going to say my personal opinions about some of our legislators or our governor, but they're not really moving in our favor, but we're going to be persistent and fearless anyway and push through the noise. Equality Florida is our legislative and lobbying supportive arm in Tallahassee, and they're fighting some really horrible anti-LGBT legislation right now. So it's an uphill battle on both sides for our coalition. But the fact that we have friends in the Florida state legislature that are taking this on still gives us hope, which I also want to acknowledge. We have three additional lawmaker leaders with two bills that are potentially moving. So our HIV safe sex bill is focused on messaging around sex work and the HIV provisions that impact sex work communities. And that was assigned to, I hope I didn't cut the slide off, but I think that was assigned to 3 committees. And then we have a PrEP and PEP access bill with 2 bill sponsors, Senator Janet Cruz and Representative Michelle K. Rayner. The movement on that bill is really confusing and interesting. There's just a lot of questions around. There's a portion of the bill that focuses on pharmacy access, pharmacies dispensing the medications for PrEP and PEP. And one of my personal concerns is that I don't think the provisions and guidelines for PEP and PrEP under pharmacy dispensation should be the same, because PEP is a more of an emergency space. And if there's provisions that include like the same provider reauthorizations, which tend to take up more time, then that's going to cause a problem and be counterproductive to getting the medications to the folks. And I don't think it'll be a serious issue, but it is just something I want to be sure doesn't get, doesn't have a blanket pulled over that folks aren't paying attention to until it's too late. So those are our legislative and lobbying updates in Florida. Meanwhile, our communications and community engagement is that we're dedicated and focused to sex work advocacy and building relationships with our sex work organizations in Florida, and providing also support to the Southern HIV Decriminalization Advocacy Network as they are rolling out the beginning phases of a case study research project. They're looking at Southern states only, and they're looking at states that have active coalitions and wanting to discover and hear from advocates on whether they've passed measures or not, on whether or not, like what are the successes of your coalition, not so much the process or the strategy, but how did your coalition come together to do this? And how was your coalition successful? What challenges did your coalition have? What advice does your coalition have? What warnings does your coalition have? So when they identify, I think they're looking at 2 states right now. When they identify and confirm with those, I think the timeline for the project to be released is somewhere late summer, July, midsummer. And then lastly, I've been inspired by some other Southern states on how they're doing their education. I think Tennessee and Louisiana have done either regional or statewide summits, and Virginia did a World AIDS Day event that brought in statewide partners. And I was really inspired by that. And knowing that Florida has been pushing legislation since 2015, I feel like we're at a time where we can really stop doing the same thing, expecting different results, and really tap into a statewide education summit, preferably after the legislative session's over, wanting to provide education to legislators, but also really wanting to focus on other stakeholders that will support in applying pressure to their district legislators. Because I feel like we've been talking to legislators enough. They get it. They get the criminalization part of it. There is still some HIV 101 that's needed. Florida has taken on, our state health department has taken on the U equals U, undetectable equals untransmittable, as a public health, Department of Health campaign now. So that also supports some of our education work. And just working on putting together a committee and a co-coordinator to help plan and execute the summit. And then the last training and discussion space that we have is I live in Central Florida, and working on, for those of you that have attended HIV is Not a Crime Training Academy, I do a workshop called Be the Change in a Resistant Community. And it's me reading off, well, giving disclaimers first, and providing a safe and brave environment. But then I read vague, sometimes triggering statements, and folks in the room have to agree or disagree. It's anonymous. I don't know who's agreeing or who's disagreeing. And we go through the statements really quickly. And then we pause, take a breath, and then we go back through the statements and discuss. And it's not about judging anyone for what they believe. It's not about even changing anyone's mind. It's about knowing why you hold the beliefs you hold and owning them. And what usually ends up happening is people realize they don't know why they hold a belief to one of the statements or an idea until they start to hear other people's perspectives. So it's really just about digging deeper in yourself so that when you're aligning with an issue and a cause such as criminalization, you know without a shadow of a doubt where you stand. So I'm able to provide that workshop training as I've done it as onboarding for community-based organizations. I've now partnered with one of our county health departments, which is super exciting. And I've done the training so far for service providers. And then on the magical day of 2/22/2022, I get to talk to community-based organization executive directors. And then next, I get to talk to planning body folks and other people living with HIV. And that is, oh yeah. So also, if you know about the Demanding Better policy agenda that was written by people living with HIV, that's really applying pressure to our federal government on demands to the response of HIV. Please keep sharing that. I forgot to put that link in my slide deck, but the bit.ly link is on the screen. So please keep sharing and discuss in every place you can imagine. I've been talking about it in my Ryan White planning body, especially as we are writing our regional EHE implementation plan. I've been like shoving this in people's faces every time they bring it up so that they're informed by this document. So we'll see. And that is the end of my update. Any questions or reactions about Florida? And if not, then we'll go on to Georgia. Okay. Oops. Okay, Hawaii. Idaho.
Wow, I'd rather do the report from Hawaii. if you can go on to the next slide, Kamaria. Yeah, our political reality has not changed. We still have a supermajority Republican trifecta here in Idaho. We moved our static display in Idaho because of COVID. You can easel information in the State House, and they call it static display. We moved that from January 26th to March 9th because COVID was so rampant that week. It was really bad over in Boise. That also gave us the chance to pick a date that was closest to HIV is Not a Crime Awareness Day. So we'll be able to use that material in our static display. And then also with my advocacy goal of finding more folks living with HIV here in Idaho, I had my partner Tom design a flyer for exam rooms and ASOs. And if you go to the next slide, the flyer is there. for some reason, it was just sheer dumb luck. As people joined the coalition living with HIV, I kept track of where they came from. And when I reviewed that, I noticed that 95% of the people who joined the coalition came, this was just a completely chance thing. 2 case managers in Boise in the Ryan White Clinic hung our fact sheet, 5 reasons why HIV criminalization does not work, in the exam room. And 95% of the people who were living with HIV that expressed interest in becoming to the table and helping work on this came from those flyers. And so hopefully this will work even better, because it's actually asking them to come and help us, rather than them being completely proactive and writing down an email address off an informational educational flyer. And that is what's going on here in Idaho. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
I put it in the chat, but I just want to say it for the recording. I really love this idea of creating flyers for exam rooms. It's in my mind. I'm like, it's so simple and it's just so powerful. Like I just love that. Thank you. I muted myself. Yeah, and thank you to Tom for the flyer as well. This is great.
I love the colors on that flyer. Ain't nobody miss that. That's love it.
Yeah, and I've got to give credit here now, because I was helping Devin Hersey do some work on the bully event on Monday, and I had to go to Snapco's website to get their address, and their entire website has these color combinations. And I was so energized and so happy and so excited when I left the website. I showed it to Tom, and he used the same color. We stole the color combinations from Snapco. If you haven't been to their website, it's well worth going. There's great information there, and it will definitely pick up your day if you're having a bad day.
And for folks who may not know, Snapco is, I think, Solutions Not Prisons. It's an organization. They're powerful advocates, and yes, their website definitely energizes you. You may not know what you want to take action on immediately, but you just feel like, I got to do something. So thank you for that, Kevin. And yes, Eric, like you're right. Like when we organized in high school, there were literally flyers. I was on the poster making committee because I have good handwriting, I guess, and I love making posters. So how I forgot my roots, I don't know, but thank you for that reminder. Moving over to Illinois. And I don't know why I never noticed that. They reformed in 2012 and then they flipped that and repealed it in 2021. I don't know why, that just made me excited. Thank you, Tammy, for putting Snapco's link in the chat. So I'm guessing no one's on from Illinois. Indiana.
Should I go?
Oh, sure.
So I'm just starting my advocacy with HIV modernization movement. And I've been more of a cheerleader up until, up until our bill got died in the House. So our criminalization law, HB 1032, died. But a larger public health bill, House Bill 1158, which has some HIV related items in it, was passed. So that's all I know of right now. I know Dr. Carrie Foote is putting together a training for local state advocates to get them involved and working and talking and advocating so that we can push forward, thanks to Sarah Project and the VIV microgrants. So.
Thank you for that, Eric. Are there any questions for Eric? I love this advocates training. I think that's like the theme and the energy of this, of a lot of folks' efforts are it's training advocates and educating communities. So I love that there's storytelling in here, and there's my workshop, the Being the Change You Seek. And then there's conversations around drug use and sex work and race. So these trainings sound absolutely amazing. So thank you, Eric. And thank you, Carrie, if you ever listen to the recording. So next we have Iowa.
Yeah, we are still fighting so many anti-LGBT bills being introduced, along with our wonderful legislature is also having a war on education. So right now, as far as HIV crime reform, it is not really safe for us to do anything at this time.
That's also a common trend across the nation. Thank you, Tammy. Kansas. Kentucky. Louisiana. I'm pausing because I'm thinking. Okay. Maine. Maryland. Massachusetts, the state I struggle to pronounce correctly. Michigan. Minnesota. Mississippi. Don't think our advocate from Mississippi is on, but I do know that they are planning a advocacy training based on AIDS Watch. They're having like their own state AIDS Watch. And Sarah's thinking, not thinking, but we're going to be supporting them on that. I think the dates are shifting. I have a call with Robin and Rimsky from Mississippi Friday to get more details. So hopefully we'll have that information before their training next month. Missouri.
Hello, I got a little update. Well, it's big for us, I'm sure for everyone. But Missouri passed 2 HIV bills this past session. But first, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Miss Latricia Miles and Devin Hersey, who presented had a testimonial at our last session. Miss Latricia was kind of our agent of change in 2011 when she kind of started up the coalition. So for it to be modernized was a huge success for her and for the coalition in Missouri as well. So the 2 bills that were passed in Missouri were HB 476, that allows post-exposure prophylaxis, PEP, to be dispensed by a pharmacist. Missouri is the 3rd state to expand PEP access, so that's really good for us. The other one is SB 53. SB 53 makes improvements to Missouri's HIV-specific criminal statutes. They did have to merge 2 bills. They took the HIV-specific criminalization and kind of integrated it in the criminalization, because a lot of our pushback our conversations were with the DOC, Department of Corrections, because of course with transmission is a lot of more. There's a lot of feedback and pushback based on emotions versus facts, especially how HIV is transmitted. They feel like if their feces are there's urine through on you, there should be, huge penalties. But in fact, that's not a way to transmit. So people should not be penalized for that. So what does SB 53 do? It makes the law consistent with the science. So it's something that the coalition was really fighting for, and that's a part of our initiative as well. Because when it comes to education, it opens up more ears. It also only covers activities scientifically proven to create a substantial risk of HIV. So if you're undetectable, you are able to use that your labs and things of that sort to prove that you have been in treatment or care. Another thing, it also removes condom is not a defense provision. It also lowers the penalties to such as raising the mens rea, felony requiring knowing rather than reckless intent, but reckless is a demeanor. So we tried to go for reckless because we didn't want any of the modernizations to be a felony, but they wouldn't push back on it. So of course you got to put one foot in front of the other. So we went ahead and accepted knowing so we could come back later and possibly get that provision. Felony also provisions. The provisions of the felony are also lower by 2 class levels. So it was a class D, now it's down to a class B, I believe, or the other way around, excuse me. It addresses HIV exceptionalism. So HIV is no longer singled out. Instead, covering serious infectious or communicable diseases, which has been narrowly defined in the law. So that's a good thing. And also privacy protection. It protects the identity of accusers and the accused in court proceedings. So what do we need to do and what needs to be addressed? So we're sitting out this session for this year. We'll be rolling back out in 2023 because we want to use this time to kind of set up some educational programs to be able to educate our legal stakeholders and so forth, our health associations, our community partners, and things of that sort. So SB 53 does not address the very rarely used but extremely problematic HIV enhancement for prostitution charges. In the state of Missouri, it is a very low rate, but the penalty is 30 times higher than a person that's on the street or even just that's being convicted as from transmission. It does not raise mens rea to purposely standard, so that's something that we're looking to work on next session as well. And it still includes potential for significant felony penalties. So that's about it. So again, like I was saying, our goal for the upcoming year is to educate our legal stakeholders, our detention centers, collaborate with our community partners so everyone can kind of be aware on the same page as far as what's on the laws today. And then we anticipate to move forward to try to remove the felonies and any other provisions in 2023. That was a lot, but thank you.
That was a lot. And I was just going to say, like, thank you to you, Latricia, Devin, and all the advocates in Missouri for your hard work to get the provisions that you did get. And thank you for your commitment to go back and get and fight for the things you didn't get. I think that's another trend of the new wave of the additional wave of criminalization reform is for the states that couldn't get the full repeal or the full wins that they wanted, are taking that energy and going back to flip things. And I want to speak to that because often in coalition conversations, when you're talking about your non-negotiables and you're talking through the different nuances of whatever the culture is of your coalition or your state, there's the recommendation of, well, we can't get this now, but we'll go back for it. And there's always someone in that group that's like, no one ever goes back. No one ever listens and comes back around after you get your win. You get your win and you move on. And what I want to say to this community is, because the people that are saying that are coming from like a lobbying background, of what I've heard. And every time I hear it, I'm like, you don't know us. Like, you don't know HIV advocates. Like, we're not going to leave anyone behind. And you all have absolutely proven me right in that by always going back and fighting for what's right. And I just want us to all celebrate that and hold that as a reminder in the work as we move forward. So thank you, Demario, for your update.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Demario? Okay. Montana. Nebraska. Nevada. New Hampshire. New Jersey, which we need to update this slide, Tammy, that they reformed this year.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. New Mexico. New York. North Carolina. North Dakota. Ohio. Oklahoma. Oregon. Pennsylvania.
That would be me. Pennsylvania has had a lot going on. I don't know how far you want me to go back, but last year there were a couple bills that would have been really bad for people living with HIV. 2 were squashed. One is still was referred to committee. There was a meeting with the Pennsylvania House Democrat Policy Committee where testimony was provided and it went really well. The representatives that were there did promise that we would be contacted if other bills came forth, which we're not going to hold our breath. But they also did express interest in like receiving more education. So we've been focused on really getting education out there to not only people living with HIV in the community, but also anywhere where it could have intersectional interest in upholding our human rights. Recently, let's see, so that education was last year. The focus now is not only making sure that community members know what is going on, but also to build stronger allies in positions of power, like the departments of health, district attorneys, and lawmakers, and making sure that you say you want to end the epidemic. We can't do it if we still have criminalization. It will not happen. And the Department of Health, it's amazing like what happens when we just keep talking, because some of the education that we provided a few months ago, I believe beginning of December, got a contact from the Department of Health, from the Philadelphia Department of Health, someone in the medical monitoring project, I think that's what it's called, contacted us to find out what can they do to make sure that the Department of Health stands up against criminalization. And she's talking to her supervisor, so there's a meeting going to be set up. So I do have, and that's the Philly Department of Health, but we're also in talks with the Pennsylvania Department of Health state. And they did ask, what do you want from us? And I said, I want you to say that you oppose HIV criminalization. So it will happen, I believe. We just have to keep talking and keep the energy up, because people do, many more people care, but if they don't know about it, they can't care. So we just gotta let them know about it, and then they will join us. Then that's it.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for that update. I
Oh,
love
you're welcome.
your energy and about just making it clear, like when they say, well, what do you want from us? Like, this is what I want you to do. And I would even add, Kevin's tool, like, here's some flyers you can hang up and give to your to the state people, like give to your city health departments to hang up and get people to talk about this and hold events to have these conversations. So keep pressing forward, and thank you so much for your advocacy. Are there any questions for Michelle? All right. Puerto Rico. I think I'm going to move there so I can give reports from Puerto Rico. Rhode Island. South Carolina. South Dakota. Tennessee. Texas.
Okay, hi everyone. Everyone knows that Texas is this is our off year, but our strike force met last month and we decided that we would keep going throughout this whole year to educate, to have people join our PWN's rapid response team and have people in place. So this is our off year, but this is our year to really educate, strategize, to mobilize. And that is our goal. And every event that we do until we go back into session next year will be to have new people join the strike force at every event, but also this this year with voting, we have some crucial seats that are up, like the governor, the lieutenant governor, senator seats that we need to unseat. So this is a fight, a real fight for democracy here in Texas because of everything that's going on. So we're gonna keep adding, pushing, and we will conquer.
Thank you for your update and your leadership and your advocacy and your passion, Tana. And that's for all the advocates in Texas. Just thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. Utah. Vermont. Virginia. Cedric still with us?
No, he sent me a message that he had to leave for another call, but Deidre had provided these slides.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so Virginia's has a Republican governor that was elected and took office in 2022. Republicans gained control of their General Assembly, but the coalition of ECHO VA has the plans to observe that political climate over the next year, keeping watch, of anything that's going to pop off. Continue to educate community about the law modernization, their success, and what that means for people living with HIV, and of course, continue to monitor any bills that would impact modernization efforts from the 2021 General Assembly victory. So stay tuned to what Virginia is going to do. And thank you to Deirdre and Cedric for your update. Washington State. West Virginia. Wisconsin. Wyoming. And that concludes our state updates, but we do have some events and awareness days that we want to acknowledge. So Sarah, in recognizing National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day on February 7th, changed, not changed our logo, but we updated our logo for the Awareness Day. Kudos, a round of applause and standing ovation to Eric for creating this graphic and these images that demonstrate honoring Black excellence and the beauty of the Black community. So some of the events, and I meant to put the slide for United We Rise in here, but if you visit everyblackbody.org, I think, yes, everyblackbody.org, and I think it's /events, you can find some, especially these two events, they're updated every day, but United We Rise is a body of Black leaders that answers the question, what does the response to HIV look like when led by Black people? So, so these are just some of the events that community members of that body of folks have submitted to that website. So there's on February 5th, there'll be a free event. With the Black and Latinx community control of health, a virtual event. I believe this is virtual. Yes, virtual. No, wait. Yes, it's a virtual event. And if this is too small for folks, you can go to the website. I think someone just put the link in the chat to be able to read it more. It pulls up much bigger, and you can register from that space. And then there's also on February 7th at 6 p.m., the National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day Forum with the Beaumont Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, putting an event together of Let's Stop HIV. And then Tana and folks in Texas are having a voting and criminalization in Texas Power of the Black Vote event on February 7th at 5:30 Central. This event, the link is in the chat. They have a bit.ly link on the screen as well. And then the Black United Leadership Initiative, Black United Leadership Initiative is hosting an HIV and Black perinatal care event that will be focusing on the issues around HIV, criminalization, and breast and chest feeding in the Black community. I will be moderating, and Martha with the ICW will be leading the conversation from her experience with putting together a consensus statement and putting together asks to federal agency bodies to update best practice guidelines around breast and chest feeding. Also will be joining us Antoinette Jones and Dorinthia Johnson. CC won't be able to join the conversation that day. And then we also have a doula from Tennessee, Maya, that will be joining us for that conversation. So that'll be February 7th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then I think the final event is Prepping Our People, virtual event on February 8th, hosted by Alicia McKinley Beach. And it's focusing on a conversation for and with Black women about PrEP. So those are your events. The links are in the chat. They'll also be provided in the slide deck and the notes that will go out for this call today. So wrapping up, I feel like I'm forgetting something, but questions or comments from folks, or if there's anything that came up in your mind that didn't get lifted during this conversation, you have the floor. And I will stop sharing. I would like to give another thank you to our language justice interpreters, Ale and Jose, for translating for us. I also want to thank advocates for keeping in mind of speaking slowly so that the translation could be done smoothly. I really appreciate, I was paying attention to everyone that was talking, and I really appreciate folks being mindful about that. Tammy, did I forget anything?
I don't think so. Great call, everyone. Thank you all for being on.
Yes, thank you all. Hydrate, rest, stretch, rest again if you need to, and have a great night. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks.